Hello, beautiful souls, and welcome to I Care About You, the podcast where we take a deep dive into fostering self-love, compassion, and resilience as we work on our purpose and meaning. I'm your host, Juliana J., the author of Reasons to Live, the links in the description, and the not yet released Journaling Through Uncertainty and Change. I'll keep you posted on when that one drops. But for now, let me ask you a question. Have you ever noticed how harsh we are to ourselves, saying things in our own minds we'd never say to someone we love or care about? Recently, I've been reflecting on just that. And I gotta tell you, it's startling how self-criticism often beats us down far more than anyone else could. Why do we treat ourselves so poorly? Or criticize ourselves in ways we'd never dream of criticizing people we love and care about? Mostly, I think we simply do not know how to treat ourselves with compassion. We aren't often taught this, and more likely, we are taught how to criticize ourselves. We see our caregivers doing that, self-criticism, and we are even taught to criticize our work at a very early age, and we're asked by teachers in grade school to critique the work of our peers. Often we don't really have the skill set to do that or even the emotional or mental understanding about what that is. And it can come across as scary and something we're supposed to do. We're supposed to criticize everyone, judge everyone. This is kind of a learning technique that I personally feel is often gets morphed into self-criticism over time and worry about others seeing our work and worry about putting ourselves out there because our little brains just can't fully understand that when we're children. And if we're grading each other's papers and criticizing or critiquing each other's work, we really don't understand what that's about. And we attach a lot of emotion to it. We attach a lot of belief systems to it that maybe aren't true, but we take those belief ideas throughout our life and never think twice. And we become this self-critic where that self-critic is popping up all the time whenever we do anything good, not good, in any sense of anything. We can develop this really big fear and this negative self-talk, like you're not smart enough, you're embarrassing, all those things can really play out through our lives in everything that we do. I'm always, personally, I have recently moved through this extreme anxiety of letting someone see my work. I mean, I've had to do that as a writer and doing this podcast, and that's something I've been working on really, really deeply for the past 3 years, I would say, probably even more. And even doing all that work daily and really putting myself out there, I still struggle with putting my work out. It still crops up every time I post something on Substack or social media. As a dyslexic person, I'm always lying in wait for the grammar or spelling police to laugh and say I did something wrong. I mean, always. That is a constant theme throughout my life that some grammar or spelling police person will attack something that I've done that is really, it's obvious what I'm trying to say. You don't have to attack it in a mean and critiquing way. And I just internalized all of that. And we live in a world that praises critiquing others, at least in the United States, in this individualistic society. We criticize each other and judge each other so we can feel a little bit more important in the moment. I may be outrageous here, but unwanted or unsolicited critique at its core is mean and very low vibe. In essence, it's the same mechanism that bullies use, making you feel wrong, small, dumb, not like everyone else. Even if you phrase an unsolicited criticism with, "I hope you don't mind if I tell you this," or something of that nature, it's still hurtful. It's not asked for. If criticism or critique is asked for, that is a different scenario. And still, you should be compassionate when you give it out, right? But because we are receiving this from the outside world in these ways, we often talk very critically to ourselves because if the outside world, if it's happening, that must be how we're supposed to be reacting with inside of ourselves. And we develop this self-critic that we don't even realize that we have until we start looking a little deeper. So again, I want to say with criticism and critique, there is a place for it if it is solicited, or the only other caveat I can think of is if you see a typo in a friend's novel before publication or something similar to that, like someone's about to go out on a hot date and they have toothpaste on their face, or all these other little things that you can be compassionate about when you tell them, oh, there's a typo on page 27. There's a different way to approach that. And that's not, looking for a mistake and then bringing it out and laughing about it. So you can apply the same compassion that you would like to be given to you if you were in the shoes of that person. But unsolicited criticism based on your preferences or opinions are not really that helpful. Your ugly decor is someone else's sanctuary. So that's just your belief or your thought or your likes or dislikes or preferences. It's not a truth. But often we hear criticism that's really someone's opinion as a truth. And we internalize that and it becomes part of our negative self talk. So being really mindful of that when it happens and being able to not pick it up is important. If somebody criticizes you for something, you don't have to accept that. You don't have to internalize it as now you're not smart for the rest of your life or whatever it is. The first step is kind of being mindful of where is it showing up in your outside world and are you bringing it into your inside world? Because this is modeled to us everywhere in the United States and we internalize it. I mean, there are a whole bunch of other reasons a negative critic can take up space in our brains, but this is one of them. We've been taught to criticize and judge. It's so normal to us that we think nothing of our negative thoughts. And over time, we start seeing negative thoughts as truths about ourselves. We start internalizing it and letting it be part of who we are. But here's another question for you. What if we practice self-compassion instead? Treating ourselves with the kindness, understanding, and encouragement we'd offer somebody that we really cared about. I've talked about this in past podcasts as well. Shifting your internal dialogue to be the conversation that you would have with somebody you loved, your BFF, your partner, whomever, your children, how would you talk to them in an encouraging way and learn to do that for yourself? Psychology research shows that self-compassion, being kind to yourself, remembering that everyone makes mistakes, and observing your feelings without judgment, not judging yourself. It's huge. We so judge ourselves negatively. We very often do not judge ourselves positively, but we will pick up on a negative judgment and obsess about it forever, right? I know I am totally capable of doing that. But research suggests if you learn how to have more compassion for yourself, it'll reduce anxiety and depression, increase resilience and emotional well-being, help you bounce back faster from setbacks, and even help you step out of your comfort zone to grow because you've created a safe space for yourself. You've created the space where it's okay to make mistakes. It's okay to learn from mistakes. Mistakes are your greatest teacher. It's okay and it's totally human because no one is perfect. Everyone makes mistakes and every mistake you've ever made has been made by someone else, more than just one person, many people. So you're not alone. And mistakes are actually really wonderful tools. Once you get past all the emotion surrounding them, you can look at them as teachers and kind of reframe what they are in your life. I used to frame mistakes as just another reason I'm not worthy. And now I reframe mistakes as what can I learn from that? It's a tool. It doesn't have an emotional charge to it anymore. It's just a tool for what can I learn from that? I can still feel sad about it, guilty, whatever, but I take action now. And also I reframe it. So it's not another thing I can add to the pile of why I'm not measuring up. More so, it's how can I grow from this? What can I learn from this? How can I be a better person? So the question becomes, how do you speak to yourself in hard moments? Do you notice a critical inner voice? And how do you respond? Are you harsh or do you respond with understanding? Changing the response can be really challenging. And I offer you some ways to work with your self-criticism. So first, when you hear a negative self-belief inside your mind, pause. Say to yourself, no, I don't think that anymore. And replace the response with something encouraging and compassionate. Like instead of seeing something as, God, you're just so dumb. Why would you do that? No, I don't say that to myself anymore. Now I say, it's okay. You can fix that problem. Let's go talk to so and so about it. Or it's okay. You can fix that problem. Let's just figure out how to do that. Or it's okay. Mistakes happen. You're human. No one on earth is free from mistakes. So, how can you be compassionate to yourself? Just change that when you hear the negative belief inside. One common one for me, as I brought up a couple times in this podcast already, is God, you're so stupid. I used to think that all the time, like literally hundreds of times a day. Whenever anything didn't go perfectly, or I couldn't recall something like that, or I couldn't think of the word, or any reason to call myself stupid, I was doing it. And when that happens, I'd stop and say, no, I'm not stupid. I'm human and mistake happen. And instead of wallowing in my feelings of inadequacy, I would correct it if I can. I'd circle back to the situation and either fix it or talk to the person about it or talk to somebody else about it. And if I couldn't fix it, I would just realize like, well, that's out there now. And I can maybe say a rebuttal to it if I want. I can say nothing at all. Say nothing at all. And if somebody says something to me, I can have a dialogue with them then. But the person who says something to me has also made mistakes. We've all done it. It's just a thing that happens all the time. And we've learned to think of mistakes as this big, negative, embarrassing thing when really we should be looking at them as tools. It should be okay to make mistakes. It should be okay not to be looking for a perfect research paper, but more so, how can you learn from this paper? What can I tell you about this paper? How can you be better as a consequence of this paper? Rather than just trying to get a perfect score all the time. So find compassionate words for yourself because we've all been there and you're not alone, rather than beating yourself up about it. Honestly, what will beating yourself up about it do anyway? Nothing. It'll just reinforce that negative belief for next time. But if you have compassion for yourself, you realize you're not alone and you can move forward with working on the situation. Maybe you can figure out how to be more prepared next time or find a mentor, a coach, or a group, or whatever works for you. It allows you to be compassionate for yourself and take action if needed. Action helps build confidence. It helps you feel like you are gaining the tools to be successful, and it helps you feel less stress the next time. That is really, really important. So it's a two-step process here. You, one, reframe what you say to yourself. When you hear yourself saying something like, you're so stupid, stop and go, no, I'm not stupid. And you have to have that internal dialogue with yourself. You have to confront your inner critic in a way. I'm human and mistakes happen. What action could I take? What action is there to take? If I bombed a interview or a presentation, you know what? It happens. It's happened to everyone. You're not alone. I have totally bombed interviews and presentations more than once. It happens. But what can you do about it? First, you reframe that. No, you're not stupid. You're not dumb. You're not a loser. You are just a human, and humans make mistakes. Can I do something? What action can I take? Maybe the action is to be more prepared. Maybe it's to get a mentor. Who knows? You know what it is. And you can take some action. And that makes you feel more empowered when you make a mistake or something happens that would normally bring up your negative critic. And I wanted to bring up something really, really important. It's important to learn the art of the pause. When something happens, pause. Instead of letting the negative critic go wild with accusations, pause and decide for yourself how you're going to think about the situation. Maybe it isn't even about you, but you're so used to using anything uncomfortable to self-criticize that you go wild with negative thoughts immediately, even if you aren't connected to it. If you're not actually involved, you're still letting the inner critic go wild. Like, oh my God, what if I did that? But now you're taking a scenario that isn't even about you and you're fueling your self critic. You're fueling your negative self-talk by something that you're not even involved in. I used to do this all the time, all the time. Just take a pause, a couple of deep breaths. Maybe you get up and walk outside for a moment and come back, whatever the pause looks like for you. For me, a lot of times the pause is, I'm going to sleep on that. That's definitely a pause for me. There's a cat behind my camera trying to eat this plant. So I'm going to move it over there. Learn the art of the pause. The art of the pause comes in handy for so many things. I mean, so many things before you respond to an email. Art of the pause. That's upset you. You know, anything that's upset you in an argument. The art of the pause is really, really useful, especially if you're somebody who might say something you'll regret later. So learn the art of the pause and don't allow your self critic, those negative self talk, to go wild with negative thoughts right away when something's happening. And that brings me to something very, very important. Stop obsessing. The inner critic loves obsessing. When you start obsessing, realize it and say to yourself, no. I used to do this, actually say this out loud because this was such a huge, huge problem for me. No, I don't do this anymore. And switch gears. Maybe you meditate or you do a project or do something creative or exercise. It's really hard to obsess in a yoga class or while counting reps. So do something that requires that, knitting or something of that nature that requires concentration in your mind. Get up and move around and shake it off. Sometimes we have certain places in our homes or offices or wherever, like the car, where we use that space to just go wild with obsessing about things that have happened during the day, criticizing yourself. Realize if you have a space like that and you're in it and you start obsessing, to get up and leave. Leave, go there. Sometimes you can take a walk or listen to music or read something that takes your mind off that obsessing. If you find that, like, sometimes I'll listen to music, but I'll still obsess in the background, then I know I need to do something else. Okay, the music isn't working for me today. I need to do something else to step away from being obsessing about this situation that happened today that I feel bad about or guilty about or unsure about. The other thing you can do is tap into your support people and bounce it off them. Maybe you need to have a conversation about it with somebody else. You need to hear somebody else's support, and also, what should I do in this situation? I need some ideas. This isn't, you're not asking them for criticism. You're asking them for support, which is not criticism. And then you're asking them for advice. Two very different things than criticism. And you can use this model. Say you call your friend up on the phone and you tell them about the situation, and they give you some wonderful compassion and love, and maybe they give you a few words of advice, and you get off the phone. Don't go right back to obsessing. You just spent time talking with somebody who gave you some valuable insight and some valuable help. Carry what they gave you into your own self talk. Don't just call up a friend, vent to them, hearing their words of compassion, feeling better, hanging up, and then obsessing all over again about as though the conversation didn't happen. That's one, not honoring the conversation you had with your friend, but it's not honoring yourself either. Your friend told you some valuable information, believe it. Believe it. When somebody tells us something that is against our inner critic, we often have trouble believing it because we are so conditioned to be in that space of our negative critic. It's important. It's hugely important if somebody gives you compassion and some advice that you deeply hear it. You don't just pass it off as something dumb. Oh, well, they just said that because they're my friend. How many times have you said that to yourself? Oh, my mom just said that because she's my mom. Oh, my partner just said that because they're my partner. How many times have you heard that? Or within your own mind, you discount the compassion that people give you instead of internalizing it. And that has a lot to do with that you hear that and then you start obsessing about it all over again. You don't give it value. So give it value. People are taking time out of their lives to tell you something about you and to support you, to give you some compassion and some love, to help you through this moment. So listen deeply and internalize it, because they wouldn't say it if they didn't mean it. Just because they're your BFF or your mom or your partner doesn't mean they're going to tell you lies. I mean, think about it. And here is a really big one that I used to do. I know a lot of people do this. I see people do this all the time. Stay off social media and the internet if you're grappling with some negative something happens, you've got this negative self-talk going on. It's very easy to go on social media when you're upset, to go on the internet when you're upset, and use social media to affirm our own negative self-talk. Look at all your friends having all this fun when you're not, because you got in a big argument with a friend and now no one likes you in your mind. You know, that's your self-critic talking. No one likes you. And then you go on social media to affirm that. Look at all my friends doing stuff without me. Or how many times have you researched the web for proof of your own self-perceived inadequacies? Don't do that anymore. Replace it with a book or a walk, a conversation, exercise, whatever you need. But don't go on the internet to confirm how dumb you are, or a mistake that you made, or any of that. Don't do that. Why are you doing that to yourself? What's that going to change? Just going to make you feel worse And we tend to, when we feel bad, want to get in this bad downward spiral of being worse and worse and worse and worse and worse. Because if you really have a lot of negative self-talk rolling around in your brain all the time, that's your natural way of being. Is it can't just be like, oh darn, I made a mistake here, and then you move on. You make a mistake, you obsess about it, you reinforce how dumb you are. You do all these things to reinforce your negative self-talk over and over and over again, just solidifying it deeper inside of you rather than changing it, learning from it, using it as a tool for learning, not a tool for making you feel like crap. That's not what it's about. And finally, there's writing or talking about it to yourself. Whether you write, you talk, you draw, you collage, however it is that you journal, and many people use more than one way of journaling. I 100% use 1,000 different ways of journaling. However it works for you to process things within your mind. I've said this many times, I used to journal on my commute by talking into my phone recorder, my journal entry of the day as I was driving. That's how I would kind of process what happened during the day, good, bad, or otherwise. So find this way of journaling and journal about it, write it down, because you do not truly know what you're thinking until you start writing it down or journaling or talking about it to yourself. Journaling about how to find out more about your mysterious internal dialogue, and also journaling to be kinder to yourself, to start creating those thoughts, replacing those more kinder, compassionate thoughts with the self-critique. So journaling about just how to do that has a lot to do with remembering just how great you actually are. So here's some journaling prompts that might help you. What are my 5 highest guiding beliefs, values, morals, or virtues, whatever you want to call them? What are your highest guiding beliefs? Examples might be kindness, honesty, loyalty, love, compassion, joy. What are your most guiding beliefs? I realized when I did this practice that I truly, truly value compassion and empathy. So much so. And I've kind of always been really over the top with that. And sometimes that's hard for people because they're not used to receiving compassion. But I truly believe that compassion and empathy are 2 tools that could change the world alone. I deeply value love, honesty, whatever it is. If you need a list of those, there's a lot of websites that have lists of virtues that you can look through that can really help you define. There's tests you can take. I'll put one in the description if I remember, that you can take a test of what are these things that you highly value, even if you don't know. I took the test because, I didn't know when I first started this work. I didn't know what my highest guiding beliefs were. I knew ethics was important to me and things like that, but I didn't really know. So there's a lot of that out there you can do to find out what they are and write about them. What are your highest guiding beliefs and why? Why do you think they're so important? And then ask yourself, how can I bring more of this into my relationship with myself? How can I redefine my self-talk to embody what I value in a way that is nurturing and not self-deprecating? What role does my self-critic play, and can I change the dialogue there too? What self-beliefs have distorted my values, leading to negative perceptions of myself? These are all really deep questions that you might journal with for a couple of days or a month, or going back. Sometimes when I have these journaling prompts that have 4 or 5 questions to them, I'll journal about it, leave some space, journal about the next question, leave some space, so that when I get to the end of all the questions, I can circle back with new things I've discovered that I might want to add to question 1 or 2 or 3 or whatever. So do that with yourself. I'll put these in the description so you can look at them again. Feel free to tweak the tone or style, more casual. Some people journal in poetry. Some people journal in pictures, and both. Some people turn it into a story, a fictional story. Whatever works for you, kind of play with the different styles and see what works. So I hope those tips helped you if you're suffering with a self-critic and negative beliefs. And if you are suffering, know that you're not alone. We all have that. I feel like the majority, I'm just going to go right out there and say it. I think everyone struggles with self-worth. I think a lot of that has to do with our negative self-beliefs and our inner critic and all the things we've absorbed that other people have told us just so they can feel powerful in a moment. And we've decided that it's a truth and we've internalized it and it's become a negative self-belief. No one is free from that. Everyone struggles with self-worth. I 100% believe that. So you're not alone. You're not alone. Don't think this is some sort of failing or just another thing you can beat yourself up about, because it isn't. You know what is awesome? That you were brave enough to listen to this podcast and learn about this and maybe move forward, changing these beliefs about yourself. That is 1,000 times more brave and just really cool. It's cool that you're doing that for yourself. I applaud you. So thank you for being here and supporting my podcast. It means so much to me. If you like what you heard, please share it with somebody who might need to hear it. And please like and subscribe. It helps the word get out there, and I really, really appreciate it. And I appreciate you for being here. I appreciate you for working on yourself and taking that initiative, because it is really brave and it is really hard. And I totally commend you. I'm so excited for you. And I want you to know that this is a community here at I Care About You, and we care about one another. So if you have something important to say, you can put it in the comments. You can send it to me via my website. There's a place where you can interact with me, or any place else. You can DM me on social media, whatever. But this is an important conversation, and we all need to be here for each other. We all need to be here. If you're on a platform where you can comment and you feel like doing so, share one small kindness you can offer yourself today. And let's build a community of support, not judgment. And as always, my friends, know that I love you and I support you, and you aren't alone. You can do this. I believe in you and your brave, brave soul. So take good care.